from KXAN News.
Hello, this is the Austin Independent School District with a very important message. In the interest of health safety in regard to our students and staff, AISD schools and offices will be closed Friday, March 13th.
Did you get that phone call like I did, parents? Phone call around 3:30 this morning, a little before that, saying all classes at Austin ISD have been canceled today, the Friday before spring break. And it's after Austin Public Health confirmed just a few hours ago 2 positive cases of COVID-19, presumptive cases. Live team coverage for you this morning. Tom Miller is outside of Austin City Hall, and inside City Hall we're expecting county leaders, city leaders, as well as a medical director to give us an update on what we know about these 2 cases so far. Tom, what can you tell us?
Well, Sally, we just saw Travis County Judge Sarah Eckhart walk into City Hall behind me, so that indicates to me that we are quickly approaching go time for this press conference. You talked about presumptive positive cases, and just to break that down, that means that these were cases that were tested within Travis County, came back positive, but they have not yet gone to the CDC for official confirmation. We also know that Travis County and the city of Austin do not believe that either one of these cases came from community spread, meaning the virus was contracted outside of Travis County, and then these 2 people brought it back here. We also do not know how these 2 people are connected. So that puts Austin in phase 3 of its 5-phase plan. There are people who now have coronavirus within Travis County, but there is no, phase 4 would be limited community spread, meaning their close circle of friends or family members are also contracting the disease. There is no indication of that. Phase 5 would be just general community spread, meaning that 2 people who are possibly unrelated have interacted, and somehow one person has given it to the other person. That has not happened either. We are about to learn a lot more, though, from that press conference coming up here in just minutes.
Tom, while we
also have some sound.
We do have sound from
Go ahead, Sally.
Before you headed over there to City Hall, people may not know, but you have been our education reporter for quite some time here at KXAN, and you were able to get an exclusive interview with the head of communications over at AISD, right?
Yeah, this was a 3:30 in the morning phone call. Once we heard that Austin ISD had gone ahead and decided to cancel classes, I called the communications director and said, how was this decision made? So here's part of that phone call with Renee Tellis.
Continually monitoring the situation, and we are in constant communication with our Austin Travis County Emergency Operations Center, as well as our governmental partners, health authorities, the city of Austin, and Travis County. And as information became available to us, we decided that in the interest of health safety in regard to our students and staff, that we would close our offices and schools on Friday, March 13th.
And what do we know about plans for after spring break? Is there the possibility that school will remain closed?
Well, let me just first say that we thank our parents and our staff for their cooperation as we ensure that Austin ISD is a safe and healthy place. And as we continue to monitor the situation and learn of latest updates that help shape and inform our decisions, any possibilities may be on the table.
Okay, Tom, you heard it from him.
Talking about. Wait, say that again.
You heard it right from him. He doesn't know, because that was my question to you this morning when I walked in. I said, I wonder if that means that they're going to extend spring break, because parents like myself who have kids within AISD kind of need to know that. I need to plan for it.
Exactly, and it was a question that he had heard straight from Dr. Paul Cruz, who's the superintendent. It was something that he had asked him, and the superintendent said, yes, that is an option that is on the table, extending spring break. And, you know, this is something that families plan for months. what are we going to do over spring break? How are we going to, make sure that we have the time off from work to watch our kids? And so in the event that spring break is canceled, you can imagine all the headaches, the childcare nightmare that this creates, especially for the little ones, the elementary school students, if parents are scrambling to figure out who's going to stay home from work, who is going to be watching those kids.
No doubt, but also on the other end, Tom, we know that, they're preparing. They want to keep kids and staff safe at Austin ISD. Hey, CISD, Round Rock ISD, we checked. You do have school this morning, just no school for Austin ISD. Tom, as we wait for the briefing with county, city, and health leaders, I want to talk a little bit more about the community-acquired cases and what that means. So community-acquired, if you're watching from home, means these are cases where the source of the infection is unknown. But what we're saying here in Travis County and Austin, Tom, is that we believe from health officials, what they're saying is that they know how these two people got the virus, right?
Yeah, they know how they got it. They just haven't released that yet. What we do know is that they didn't get it in Travis County. And I think one big question that I'm going to have is, did this happen domestically? Was this somebody was traveling within the United States? Or, as we've heard in most cases, were these two people that were outside of the country who then came back, were potentially quarantining themselves, as has been the recommendation from the federal government, and over time symptoms developed, they got tested, Austin Public Health hopefully came out to their house rather than them being hospitalized or going into the hospital or doctor's office to get tested. Just because if that's the case, then the risk of other people potentially becoming infected is significantly lower. Before the test went off to a local lab, got tested, came back positive, and now I'm imagining those tests are either on their way or already in Atlanta, where the CDC is testing them and either confirming or, barring a miracle, or in the event that maybe it was a false positive, something that would be a huge sigh of relief for this community. But Sally, another thing that we heard from Judge Sarah Eckhart yesterday is that this was not unexpected. This is something that the county has been preparing for. We've seen it in so many other places, in Houston, in Dallas, all over the United States, where a case came back, it is positive, and we are now entering a new phase and a new way of life for people in Travis County.
And you went over those phases because they are preparing for the possibility of a community-acquired case. Again, that would be where we don't know how a person got infected with the coronavirus. Actually, Tom, the breaking news that we also got overnight is that over in Dallas, they believe they have 5 new cases, and some of those cases do happen to be where they don't know how the people infected got the virus. That's not the case here in Travis County. But did Sarah Eckhart, Travis County judge, say anything about how they are possibly preparing that this could happen in Austin, where we don't know how somebody could get this virus?
I don't have the details on how we're preparing, but there was an interesting moment yesterday during the press conference with her. Initially, you'll probably remember earlier this week, they said the Austin Rodeo is on. There were a couple other events that they said, these are still happening. They've applied for special permission. They've added extra safety precautions like extra hand sanitizer and hand washing stations. And then yesterday we learned that this event ended up being canceled. She was asked about that, like, how did you decide to switch so quickly? And she essentially said, this is a fluid situation, and we're just protecting the interests of Travis County. And given all the other events that had canceled, she decided that this was the right thing to do.
We have a list of the cancellations that keep on rolling in on our website at KXAN.com. Tom, we see you live outside of City Hall, and so our viewers know we also have a camera inside City Hall. We're waiting for this briefing to happen. Who are we expecting to hear from today?
Yeah, I actually have the list right in front of me. I pulled it up sort of anticipating that. We know that Austin Mayor Steve Adler is going to be there. Also Travis County Judge Sarah Eckhart, who I'd mentioned before. But then we also have at least 2 county and city health officials. Dr. Mark Escott, he is Austin's interim health authority. And then also Stephanie Hayden, and she is the Austin Public Health Director. So at least those 4. We have also seen, though, that some other county officials have arrived. So I would not be surprised if it was a much bigger panel like we saw during the press conference. I believe it was last week when the city was still trying to decide whether or not they were going to cancel South by Southwest, a decision that obviously they ultimately ended up making after a few days prior saying, no, at this point we're planning on still having it. Worth noting that had they had it, it would have started this Monday with sort of all the uncertainty that surrounds already having 2 positive cases here in Austin.
It is worth noting that, Tom. As we wait for that briefing, and we want you to know at home that once it starts, you're going to see it live in its entirety right here on KXAN and KXAN.com. As we wait for that, Tom, I want to pick your brain because you've covered a lot of education topics here in Austin. How many students are we talking about here in AISD who are not going to have class because of that cancellation that came at 3 o'clock this morning?
It's a great question. It's about 80,000. That's the number that was updated this year. So you think that you have those 80,000 students, you know, in some cases multiple students in a family, and then you also have around 11,000 faculty members. So when we talked with Rene Tellez earlier this morning, he said 90,000 families or 90,000 people were getting this phone call that said, don't come to school today. School is canceled. And you mentioned earlier, and worth reiterating, other districts, it's still moving forward.
Round Rock ISD, Hayes CISD. Tom, thank you for being outside of City Hall. We'll let you go inside where the press conference is about to start. If we can take that press conference for you full right now, we'll let you know that Mayor Steve Adler is about to begin the briefing. Okay, some big questions that we had this morning when we first learned about the 2 positive cases of coronavirus in Austin. We now know, Tom Miller outside of Austin City Hall after listening in and asking some of those questions. Tom, we now know where these 2 people got the virus. This is not a case of we don't know where they got the virus, as some cities in Texas are dealing with, like over in Dallas. And another thing, Tom, that struck me from that briefing with county leaders is that you heard them say we are battling 2 epidemics. One, the coronavirus, right, as a world, and then also we are battling the panic and the fear that people have with this virus. What else stood out to you over at the press conference, Tom?
Well, I think that one thing that really stood out to me is we've heard so many cases of, these people were on a foreign vacation or on a foreign tour and came back. That's something that we've been hearing about a lot of the other cases. In this case, both of these people contracted the virus within Texas, within other counties. And in the case of the man, he was sent to a rural hospital that just didn't have the level of care that he needed. And so then he ended up being transferred to a Travis County hospital where he is now in critical condition. As for the woman, you heard Dr. Escott clarifying that she was connected to a case in Montgomery County and that she came to Travis County to visit people. She is displaying some mild symptoms, and she is now quarantined along with the other people that she was visiting, all within a house where some of them are also displaying mild symptoms and some of them are displaying no symptoms at all.
And Tom, we just got some more breaking news into the newsroom this morning. This is a big change from what we told you about just a few minutes ago. UT Austin now saying they are canceling all classes today, Friday, March the 13th. They say the latest tweets from the UT Austin is that they have to cancel these classes today. Earlier, they were saying that class was on. Now, given the rapidly evolving situation, quote, we now believe it is in the best interest of the campus community to close. Again, UT canceling class today. Parents, if you're just waking up with us this morning, 6:41, usually if you have a kid at Austin ISD, you're getting them ready to go to school. Not today. Spring break is starting early for Austin ISD. Tom, I heard you asking, did county and city leaders work with AISD to make that determination? Because the call from AISD came around 3 a.m.
Yeah. And what they ended up saying was ultimately that was an Austin ISD decision. They had conference calls. They're having these calls every day. There are leaders from Austin ISD that are part of that call. And so I am assuming that it was Superintendent Paul Cruz who, after hearing this information that there were these 2 new coronavirus cases in Austin, decided that he was going to go ahead and cancel class. There was an important follow-up question, though, that I asked about that, which was, or actually I think it was another reporter who asked, are these people at all connected to Austin ISD? And the answer was that they had no reason to believe that there was any sort of student or interaction with Austin ISD students that would have triggered the district to go ahead and cancel classes for 80,000 students.
And we did also ask in your exclusive interview with the head of communications for AISD, does that mean that you're going to extend spring break, which is supposed to start on Monday? And the answer is that is still on the table. But as of right now, spring break for AISD is just 1 week. If that changes, because it is a fluid situation, we'll let you know. Tom, let's go over the phases of the plan the county was talking about and where we stand right now.
Yeah, we're in phase 3, which essentially means there has been a positive case. Phase 4 would be if there was some limited community spread, and then phase 5 would be general community spread. We have not seen any indication of that right now, so that keeps us in phase 3. But one important note, that now that we are at phase 3, that means they are planning for phase 4 within the city, which means exploring the option of having city employees, county employees, those that can, working from home. All that is on the table now. That is being discussed and in the planning process. And if they go to phase 4, which at the way that this is going and the way that we are hearing these elected leaders talk, sounds like that is a very real possibility, that there will at least be some limited spread from family member to family member, coworker to coworker, something like that. If we reach that, at that point, the city will go ahead and tell people, hey, you know what, go ahead and work from home. And that's something that we are already seeing from the private sector. As Google, Dell, I was talking with a neighbor who says, I haven't gone into work for the last 5 days because he's a Dell employee. And I'm sure a lot of people know people just like that.
Exactly. UT canceling classes within the last 5 minutes because this is a fluid situation, Tom. And then also, let's just be extremely transparent here and talk about the panic factor, because if you know anyone and if you've been to a grocery store lately, you know that the aisles are wiped clean of toilet paper, of cleaning supplies. I thought it was really important how the doctor this morning said, you know what, this virus is not going to reach out and grab you. Don't panic.
Right. Exactly. It's not going to jump from one person to another. There needs to be some sort of interaction. In terms of community spread, what that might look like, if somebody coughs on you, if somebody sneezes on you, or if you go to open a door and then, go ahead and touch your face. That's why everybody is washing their hands so much. That's why we're being encouraged to use Purell when you don't have soap available. But like you said, it's important to note that just from standing next to someone, just from someone breathing on you, they do not believe at this point that that is enough for you to go ahead and contract coronavirus.
Did they talk at all about how they're preparing for that next phase, Tom?
All they said is that they're having the discussions, and that means that within the county, within all the different jurisdictions, hearing this news about UT, I'm assuming they've been on the phone calls, these conference calls. Obviously, Austin ISD has been on these conference calls. They are, communicating, and they're planning and making their decisions based off of what they learn from the health officials.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Appreciate you being live there over at City Hall for the last 2 hours to bring us team coverage of the 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus. Again, UT canceling class, Austin ISD canceling class. We checked in with the other school districts. School is good to go. For you, Round Rock, Hayes-C ISD, you do have classes today. I also want you to know, if you missed any of the press conference with county, city, and health leaders, we are going to have that for you in its entirety. We're going to replay it. We're going to have that for you starting at 7 o'clock this morning. We're going to interrupt the Today Show because this is an important public health service that we let you know about these 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus here in Austin. If anything, to take away from that press conference, we know how these two people got the virus. It wasn't an unknown factor of how they got it, as some other cities are dealing with, like in Dallas. The breaking news there this morning is that they do not know how some people affected there in Dallas got this virus.